I've had an idea. Sorry, I know you're in the shower. I think I should make a documentary about all of this. What do you think? Call it Bail.
One of Britain's most successful and most loved presenters.
Love Island, Strictly, X Factor. Without a doubt, Caroline had star quality.
Every time you put Caroline Flack in the newspapers, they sold.
You don't imagine your daughter's going to be so successful, and you just sit back and watch in amazement, really. She was top of her game.
Caroline! Wow, a BAFTA.
Caroline had an ability to talk to contestants.
It's the best job in the world.
The press were obsessed with her.
She dated both Harry Styles and Prince Harry.
Her love life was just intoxicating. She was the golden girl who delivered for so many years.
The former Love Island presenter has denied charges of assaulting her boyfriend, Lewis Burton. We saw the tide turn on her.
An editor rang me up. He said, listen, if she's not willing to talk to you, go and fuck her over.
The media coverage was shocking.
Bashed his head right in.
The place was a bloodbath.
It was like a horror movie.
I can't go home. I'm receiving so much abuse.
It destroyed her.
Caroline Flack, who's been found dead in her London flat. She took her own life.
I was standing with her body and somebody was calling me to fact check that she was dead. It was so disgusting.
People seem to think that committing suicide absolves you of every horrible thing you've ever done in your life. It doesn't.
Basically, she was guilty. She was guilty.
As a mother, I just want justice for my daughter. People think they know what happened to Caroline, but the reality is much darker.
Questions have been raised about the Crown Prosecution Service charges against her.
In 27 years of practice, I have never seen a case like this. She was being prosecuted not for what she'd done or not done. She'd been prosecuted because she was Caroline Flack.
Her phones tell the real story.
I'm going through the shit. Just really going all over the place.
Today's the cut-off point. That's what we're waiting for.
What's the cut-off for what?
Find out whether it's going to sport or not.
I'm scared. I've not talked about this before. Tabloids couldn't get enough of it. People feed off that like vampires.
This was a national scandal on a par with phone hacking.
I would do anything to clear Caroline's name. I want the truth to come out.
I'm Caroline Flack. That was funny, but it was not going to work.
The real Caroline, before all this happened, was just fun.
How do you invite Snail to a party?
Don't know.
Do you want to come to a party?
When she visited, the atmosphere changed. Yeah, she had her down times, but mostly it was good times. But that's hard to think of that now, without feeling really sad. And what would she be doing now? Caroline died with the world believing the headlines in the papers that she'd hit her boyfriend with a lamp. They called her a domestic abuser.
This was a case like any other domestic abuse case, like the 1,000 a day that the Crown Prosecution Service prosecute.
That was so far from the truth. I've spent the last 5 years just trying to get some answers about what happened to her. I've seen all the police statements, but they're so inconsistent. One says one thing, one says another. They don't add up. I've got the transcripts of the 999 calls and the police videos from the night of the arrest, and there's so much information the public haven't seen. Why they pursued the prosecution, I will never understand that. I would do anything that will help. I would do anything that would give me answers as to why they did what they did to Carrie. I want the truth to come out about what happened the night of the incident, what happened at the police station, and what the press have done, and how it all ended with her committing suicide.
Caroline Flack. Welcome to the hot desk. I can't even begin.
I'm not going to be able to keep a straight face during this.
This is serious.
Okay, sorry.
Answer the following questions without thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Chocolate or cocktails?
Chocolate.
TV or radio?
TV.
Phone or makeup?
Phone.
These are some of Carrie's phones. She had a ridiculous amount. She was so frightened of anyone finding her phone, seeing her phone hacking, that she was continuously changing them. She always had a phone in her hand. Everything was on there, and it especially captures the last 3 months of her life. Caroline wasn't allowed to speak out after her arrest. She kept being advised not to say anything, be quiet. And she so wanted to have a voice. So as much as I've dreaded going into Carrie's phones, I think there's some merit in looking at them now and just getting her own words out there to tell people what she was going through at the time. It's strange because some are so normal. When she feels good on a day, and then something can happen, and it just goes into. She just goes down. I can't understand what's happening to her.
I'm just driving back to my mum's. I'm so sorry about yesterday. I'm going through the shit. I'm just really going all over the place. My head doesn't know what to think at any time.
Goody. Now, this is a story of long, long ago, set in a chase that stood.
She was one off out of the 4 children, really. She was always a character. What are you doing, Carrie?
I'm smoking.
She was the funny one as well. She'd make us laugh. She liked performing to me and her dad. Carrie and her twin sister Jo, they'd never grown apart. It was always them two against the world. My oldest daughter Lizzie was 10 when the twins were born. When they got up in the night, they'd get in her bed, which was lovely. Paul, being the only boy, was the fun aspect. He'd get all the naughty things, really, with them. When she died, you realise how quickly your family can change.
I've amazingly not still been able to watch anything that she's done at all. As soon as I watch her, the reality hits.
Let's do this. Let's go to the bench, tidy it. There it is.
I come here and you have different moods when you're here, don't you? That day I must have felt really not as good. I just put, another lonely year has passed. I missed you just as much today as the day you left. I'm doing my very best to tell the world what some awful people drove you to. I won't give up. Love you with all my heart.
Do you think there'll ever be a moment, Mum, when you'll feel content that you can stop fighting?
I hope I can stop. I hope there'll be an end to it. You can't fight for the rest of your life, but you can fight until the truth is out there.
My main anxiety is you're dealing with organisations that are so corrupt and they've got so much money and they've got legal experts. Can you really get ever to the truth in these organisations?
What's the first thing you think of when you wake up every morning? Probably the same as me.
I know, yeah.
Do you think the newspapers and the police do? No, they've forgotten about it. So, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not their problem anymore.
I just hope I can achieve something. And as long as you lot all, you know, don't mind me doing it, I'll go ahead. I think Caroline would be pleased with what I'm doing. I wish I'd done it then, before she took her own life. And that's my biggest regret, that I wasn't shouting like this then. But now, I've got nothing to lose. The worst thing in the world happened with losing Carrie.
Take one, take one.
I'm going to put my glasses there.
Probably for most people, they'll think of Caroline, they'll think Love Island, Strictly, X Factor. But she had been working industriously hard.
Oh, Jesus, it's freezing.
For years before all of that. She hosted Gladiators. A lot of people might remember her on TMI.
Caroline, are you ready to play a little machine?
We surely are.
And if people didn't turn up to go into the competitions, we'd do it.
This one's for Mum.
Caroline had an ability to talk to contestants, to really connect with them.
Hello, my darling, I can see you're really upset. Come and sit here. Come and sit here. So weird.
I think that's because she cared about them. That's why they loved her being a presenter on Love Island.
So, unfortunately, I'm not here to join the party.
The premise of Love Island, it's finding love. And Caroline always wanted to find the right person to spend her life with.
You all make such lovely-looking couples.
Thanks.
It almost seems a shame to complicate things.
She wanted it to work out for people because she wanted love to work out for her.
And the show just took off.
The most watched programme on any channel by viewers under 30.
A cultural phenomenon that's changed the TV landscape.
Wow, a BAFTA.
I got to know Caroline about 3 years before she was arrested. I think Louis Walsh actually introduced me to her at one point and said, oh, this is Paul Martin, he's a journalist, you know, watch him. And straight away she was like, oh, are you one of the nice ones or are you one of the nasty ones? That's pretty nice, I think, hopefully. And she goes, right, well, then you're okay by me, come on in. And she gave me a big hug. The tabloids were obsessed with Caroline, there's no doubt about it. If you were writing stories about her, you would be making good money. Her love life as a journalist was just intoxicating. This is a girl who started out with Prince Harry. A story like that is the ultimate prize for any journalist.
And which girl do you fancy the most, Harry? Caroline.
And then to go to another Prince of Pop, basically, Harry Styles, when he started becoming really huge, every week us journos were waiting for that first kiss. I watched their love life play out in front of all of us. There was an element of hotness about Caroline. And as much as, you know, she may have been seen as a commodity by the people who wanted to sell papers, she also saw the press as a great vessel to move to the next level in her celebrity. Some of the stories that I worked on, Caroline would have planted herself.
I still want to see you get together. Oh my God, that's never going to happen.
She'd ask her, do you have the hot Rolly? And it'd be like, oh, you know, you could put in a bit, I didn't tell you, but. She has an insatiable appetite for stories on Caroline. And she kept delivering. It just never stopped.
Have you got a secret crush on anyone at the minute?
I've got a huge crush on someone at the minute.
Do they know?
No.
You can tell them?
We message quite a lot, but
really?
I can't seem to take it from friendship to the next level.
I reckon they know.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, if you're messaging all the time, they totally know.
If you're out there and I'm sending you friendly messages, they mean more.
I remember when Caroline told me she'd met this guy, she really, really, really was besotted with him.
Could you say Lewis, sorry?
Okay, are we allowed to talk about Lewis? Yeah? Okay.
Lewis was a tennis player, very good looking. They were in the early stages of their relationship, so they've been going out for about 6 months. But they definitely had an emotional connection and a sexual connection. Can I say that because it's Disney?
My God, I am voting for you, babe.
There was a bit of an age difference. He was in his late 20s, she was 40. Some people thought this is a weird pairing.
From a media point of view, it sucked big time because nobody really knew this guy. It was like, who? What's his name again? He wasn't in the league of any of her ex-boyfriends. You know, we can't tell a lot of newspapers that. But at the same time, I do remember thinking, this is a bit of a risk by Caroline, because this is a guy who doesn't have any media training, any experience of fame. And the problem is Caroline is so big now, you can't learn it as you go. You can't make any mistakes in the media. And he had no experience in that field at all.
They had a really nice time together until they didn't.
On the night of the incident, Carrie and Lewis had both been out separately. They got back and Carrie said, funny enough, their cabs drew up at the same time and they came in. And they'd both had a bit to drink, so she said we were laughing and joking. And they went up to bed and she said Lewis fell asleep, but then his phone went. She picked the phone up and there were texts from another woman.
Caroline had found out that there were messages from a third party on the phone. She was upset. She was holding on to the phone. It was the confirmation of her worst fears. And she kept it in her hand, and with that, she's trying to wake Lewis up.
She said, I got my phone like this, and I just went, Lewis.
Wake up, wake up. It's a firm gesture, but the phone's in the hand, and her hands and the phone together are here in her head.
She hit him with her phone, then he kind of stood up. His head was bleeding. She was shouting. He was screaming.
He was frustrated that she'd accessed his telephone. She was upset at what she'd seen on the phone.
He said, oh, if you keep on and look, my head's bleeding now, I'll phone the police.
And she was screaming, please don't call the police. If you call the police, I'm done.
And he said, no, he said, you're fucked.
I didn't know if he really meant to do that, but it was a very charged situation and they were absolutely wasted.
Emergency, which service?
The minute that he called the police, she just thought, I am done. My career's over, my boyfriend's gone, I might as well be dead. She said to me, I found some broken glass and I sliced as deep as I could into my wrists and I wanted to die. I just wanted it to be over.
The police arrived and an ambulance arrived.
Everything's captured now on video. Caroline and Lewis were trying to piece together what actually was happening to them, having been asleep, having been intoxicated, and both feeling upset with one another. It all taken place so quickly that nobody could really quite work out what was going on. Caroline was upset and remorseful.
They took Lewis out and he didn't need anything at all. They said it's fine, there was a little mark here. But they said Caroline would need to go to hospital. Caroline spent 12 hours in hospital being treated for injuries to her arms. She'd actually cut them down to the muscle. They said she would need plastic surgery on her arms. They then took her to the police station where she was locked in a cell.
The tabloids were aware of what had happened very, very quickly. They had got a tip-off from a neighbour who had contacted the press.
The press were at Caroline's flat almost immediately after she was arrested.
And that set in turn absolute deluge of phone calls to the local police from press We've got Caroline Flack. What's she done? What's the charges? Is she still being held in custody? Are you going to charge her? You're going to charge her, aren't you?
As soon as I heard she'd been arrested, I felt sick. I was messaging her incessantly and they weren't delivering. It was like a drum was beating really heavily inside me, but they seized her phone.
I was in Norfolk, but Jodie, her twin sister, had been called to the police station and she called me. She said, well, I'm here, Mum. I'll take her home, you can come there. Then a policeman came out and said, it's okay, the Crown Prosecution Service don't want to charge Carrie, she'll be out shortly. The Crown Prosecution Service, they decide whether somebody should be charged with an offence. As part of my investigation, I've managed to get my hands on the original decision from the Crown Prosecution Service. And it says, I do not believe that the case is in the public interest to prosecute, as the injured party does not support the allegation. There is no domestic violence history between the parties. The suspect is 40 years old and has no previous convictions. The cut to the injured person did not require medical intervention. Therefore, they just wanted to carry a caution.
A caution is effectively a first warning. It doesn't require a prosecution or somebody to go to court. It's a sanction that's imposed by the police, and it's a record of sorts, but a caution would have drawn things to a conclusion there and then and enabled Lewis and Caroline to move on with their lives.
But what had happened is a detective had come on duty and she had overheard other police in the office talking about the case and decided to step in to say that she thought Caroline should be charged.
I've experienced in domestic violence cases, but all that kept going through my mind was the speed at which this was all happening. Why not take stock of what's really gone on here? If you have a complainant that hasn't given a statement, go and talk to him, see how he feels. Let the dust settle, and then let's decide where the best place and route for this should be. And that's what would ordinarily happen, but it didn't. And it rapidly became apparent to me that Caroline Flack was being prosecuted not for what happened or what she'd done or not done. She'd been prosecuted because she was Caroline Flack.
I saw Caroline the day after her arrest, and she was staying at her sister's house in London, hiding away. She was absolutely shattered, and actually we sat on the sofa, and I remember us both being in complete shock that this was happening.
Oh my gosh, what is going on, girl? You wouldn't think that she is the type to assault a man.
Maybe it's not the first time, but maybe she's an abuser. We don't know.
Within about 10 minutes of the story breaking, we had major national newspaper editors on the phone calling me and anybody else who would have known her, saying, come on, we're going to get everything on this girl. It was all hands on deck. Newspapers were putting teams together, which you do very rarely unless it's something that you would think is going to be big story of the year. So they've sent teams out to find every cough and spit, as they say. We want to know, will he speak? Is there more pictures? Is her TV career over?
The job they do, there's no rule book, and there's definitely no guidance on what to do if your client ends up arrested and being held in a cell overnight. But we were suddenly answerable to her employers. Imagine everybody gets very jittery when there's a negative story.
Obviously, she's been charged with a very serious offence.
I think ITV were in a really, really difficult position because she was due to go to South Africa. It was the first winter Love Island.
Sorry, Wentel.
You're just not our type.
And I think they made the decision that they had to make.
The television presenter Caroline Flack has said she will stand down as the host of the upcoming series of Love Island.
You can't have the presenter of a romance relationship show who's been accused of domestic abuse and arrested for it.
It's a massive deal, both for the show and for the viewers. The new series starts really, really soon.
Caroline did not take the news well at all. You feel you've lost the show you own, and it's the beginning of everything crumbling.
Good afternoon, who's that?
Oh, hi there. I wonder if you can help. What I'm after is if I could speak to Smart Rowley, please. The Chief of the Met Police.
I'm afraid you can't ask to speak to the Commissioner. Can I ask who you are?
Yeah, my name's Chris Flack. My daughter was Caroline Flack. After Carrie's death, I started to look into it more.
Christine Flack has said she believes her daughter was treated differently by the police because she was famous.
Tonight, she accused the CPS and Metropolitan Police of a cover-up.
The police did an investigation, then came back to me and said they found nothing wrong. I've been trying to get an interview with him for years. Just 5 minutes, face to face. I then wrote to the Independent Office for Police Conduct, and they did come back and say that the police hadn't investigated properly. It turns out the police officer that wanted to charge Caroline had applied the wrong criteria when deciding whether she should be charged. And she didn't keep proper notes as to why she decided to challenge the CPS. He's refusing to talk to me in any way. My MP has asked, the Mayor's office have asked, but I'm getting nowhere. And, with the things I've found out and all the wrongdoings, I'm really not happy that they've just dismissed it all now. The Met did apologise, but only for not taking proper notes. They will not admit that they were wrong to push for Caroline to be prosecuted. Because of a police error, my daughter's died. That's how I see it, anyway. And I think to take a few minutes to talk to me is nothing.
Okay, well, what I'll do is I'll pass your message on and I'll go flag it to his team now.
For the last almost 5 years, I've had the same answer as that lady just gave me. I just want them to admit that pushing the CPS to charge Caroline was wrong. And if the police won't speak to me, I'm going to find somebody that will. I've looked online to see who I could contact that may be able to talk about the Met Police. And I came across this lady, Jess McDonald, and she'd been in the Met Police. It says here, during her time with the force, she was posted to the Community Safeguarding Unit, which deals with, among other crimes, cases of domestic violence. I can sort of hear her saying these things, because they're the things she was thinking and saying. The reason she was worried and thought, she may go to prison was because the detective that was working the night had got the CPS to change their ruling and to charge her. What I'd like to understand is, was Caroline treated the same as everybody else, or was she treated differently? Hello.
So I've been through all the paperwork in Caroline's case, and there's just so much that shouts out to me as abnormal treatment and mishandling. This is an email sent by the detective inspector to challenge the decision to caution Caroline. She writes that the crux of the CPS's argument is that there are sufficient grounds to issue a caution as there is a clear admission of guilt. But she says, we argue there is not. However, from reviewing all the evidence, Caroline admits guilt consistently. She never denies that she hit Lewis with the phone.
Yeah, I've got it here. She admitted guilt 12 times.
So I don't understand how this is the opening line. But also, she writes of Caroline, she has caused a significant injury. As such, this is most certainly not a minor offence. Well, that's absolute nonsense. Lewis didn't even receive treatment.
No stitches, no glue, nothing.
She appears to be misleading in the way that she's reporting. I mean, I just can't believe in this email there's like literally no mention, anything about Caroline, that she had serious injuries and she was very unwell on that evening. And you can't just strip factors that don't suit your narrative out. And that kind of brings us to a briefing note that was like an internal document that would be circulated on the night of the incident. There's multiple mentions. So here, for instance, likely to be significant media interest as suspect is television presenter Caroline Flack. The incident is notable as Miss Flack is a recognisable media personality. So I think the reason that this is plastered all over the briefing note about the media being interested is because with that comes public scrutiny. The Met were under a lot of pressure because domestic violence wasn't being dealt with correctly. So I believe they saw this as an opportunity to be like, right, we will get a charge. We do take domestic violence seriously.
And what I've found out, Jess, since, this is the first time that this detective had ever gone against a CPS decision. And that night, during her shift, she was dealing with a shooting, a high-risk missing person, and yet she still had time to get involved in Caroline's case.
Common assault, which is the lowest level of physical assault. If I was to push you now, that's a common assault. So the fact that she got involved and appealed for the first time for this common assault is the most damning piece of evidence that Caroline's case was treated differently and very abnormally.
Speaking to someone like Jess, it puts it into perspective that, yeah, I haven't been wrong all this time. Caroline wasn't wrong. Her lawyer wasn't wrong. What they did to Caroline that night was horrendous. I'm not here to defend domestic violence. I've had family members that have suffered domestic violence, and it's the most awful thing. And what's even more hurtful, when they've tried to get help, there's been no help out there. The police don't want to know. Caroline was not a domestic abuser. This was a one-off incident, and Caroline's injuries, which she had done to herself, were much more serious.
I'm doing this because I want to remember what I went through, what my family went through, what my boyfriend went through, what his family went through. It was 3 days after I'd been arrested. I'm having a fight with my boyfriend. I've always cooperated with the police since they arrived. I was put in a cell. I was promised that I was anonymous and this wouldn't go any further, as it was a really private situation. 5 minutes after I left the station, they'd gone into the press, all the details, everything. Since then, I lost my job. A job I've worked all my life on. I'm living in a hotel. I'm receiving so much abuse.
After she'd been arrested, she couldn't go home because the press were just outside her house, hounding everybody, her family, her friends, her house. It wasn't safe for her. So she went and stayed at this hotel, the Ned, because it was private there. She didn't leave the room apart from occasionally go and have dinner and some friends would come over, but the majority of her time for a while was spent in that hotel room.
I was speaking to her many times a day. I wanted her to leave London and come with me. You know, just come and stay with me, forget everything. But she wasn't listening to anything. She was a woman, you know, she was 40 years old. She wasn't a child. Her life was being cancelled every day. And if I said, oh, just don't worry about it, you've got this, you've got that, it was not what she wanted to hear. It's a different mindset you're in at that time. And it's hard for someone like me to understand that.
It was a fight. Never hurt anyone in my life. The only person I ever hurt is myself.
Innocent until proven guilty doesn't really apply in the world of celebrity. Fathers for Justice created a mugshot of her saying this is what a domestic abuser looks like. Suddenly, the vultures were sort of picking at the food around her.
Suddenly, Caroline's ex-fiancé crawls out of the woodwork and puts up posts on his Twitter and Instagram pages. He had put up a non-disclosure agreement that inferred that he'd been through something which Caroline had to hush up as well. Suddenly, this story was developing more claws. It was developing more victims.
Andrew Brady was on The Apprentice, and then he went on to Celebrity Big Brother, and he was a fun, young guy.
She did like him. They even got engaged.
First thing, congratulations, Liz. Can you say you were swapping into my camera, please?
It needs to be sized,
But it was very apparent that they were not going to work.
It was not a calm relationship. It was fiery. It was so dramatic. Consistently having to firefight an argument that they'd had, and he would threaten to go to the press, which happened all the time.
I've been there for some really horrendous, horrific arguments, but it was never a scary encounter. She's not scary to anybody, but she's scary to herself. You'd be more worried that she's going to do something to herself than she was going to physically hurt someone. And that's why, from the first day that after the arrest happened, Lewis immediately said, this was a really bad argument gone wrong. I know he really, really regretted calling the police, and he kept asking for the case to be dropped.
And I have to say, in 27 years of practice, I have never seen a case involve a victim asking not to prosecute. But still, prosecution, in scant, cursory, short responses, brushed it back and said, we reviewed it and we're proceeding.
The bail conditions when they released Caroline were that she wasn't allowed to speak to Lewis, she couldn't see him. The narrative was, she's controlling, she is a danger to Lewis. So when she's posted, I love you, Lewis, she then straight away got a call informing her that message meant she'd broken the bail conditions, and we thought she could get arrested. And that was really scary. I mean, that was horrifically scary.
The view to not allow them to see each other was just compounding the awfulness of the situation. And it was clearly and evidently going to, and did, send Caroline into an enormous spiral downwards.
Caroline struggles to be alone. So with this relationship being taken away from her, her mental health at that point was on a serious decline.
Are you two good mates?
Yeah, we're best friends.
Are you? What's the worst thing she does? Go on, mate.
The worst thing?
Yeah, what's the worst?
She doesn't answer her phone.
She's busy.
She worries a lot. If I don't answer my phone, she gets in the car and drives to London.
Yeah, that's great.
Knocks on my door. Why don't you answer your phone?
When I talk about Caroline and her mental health, people say, well, everyone would feel sad if they'd been arrested. And yes, they would. But she had these problems already. It started, I mean, even as a small child, she had highs and lows. She could be like so high, but then she could just slump down.
Carrie, why are you crying, babe?
As she got older, it got even worse. It's when things all culminated. It's like a breakup, not getting a job, different things could come to it. She had cut her arms before. She went through a bit of a spate of cutting her arms. You don't know why. I don't think she wanted attention, because she had attention. Whether it's because you hurt yourself, you take a different pain away. I don't know.
What do you think she thought of herself?
I don't think she liked herself. I think she knew her faults. I think she knew when she got down that it was hard for people around her. As a young girl, she did take pills and ended up in hospital. It was very, very serious. One doctor said she had bipolar. At the time, they used to call it manic depression. She didn't want to be told that. She didn't want a label. She hated having this mental health problem, and it was always hushed up. It was, if anyone mentioned it, it was the worst thing you could do.
Hello, everybody. Oh, tripped up. Good start. I'm just coming out of my dressing room.
The whole way through her career, she suffered with mental health.
Because we're going live in about 45 minutes. So.
And at those times, if she had, like, her work to go to or something, it would make her come out of it.
Weirdly, the anxiety I get more when I'm not working. So actually, work for me takes away my anxiety, and doing live TV in that moment when you're consumed by something else,
adrenaline,
it takes away any of my thoughts. It does. It distracts you.
But this time, her job had gone. And I think that's why we were more frightened of what was going on, because we knew what she was like.
It was evident that there should have been a greater mental health assessment and the impact that a prosecution would have on her mental health. For that reason, the psychiatrist was instructed in order to prepare a report, and the decision was made to disclose that to the prosecution.
So we sent psychiatric report to the CPS, so she is not fit and well mentally to go through this. We had professional analysis. And that was ignored. We were so taken aback, actually, that they dismissed the report from the psychiatrist.
The actual crime that Carrie was charged with in the end was the most minor charge you can get. But what she was going through, it was just so over the top for what actually happened that night. The punishment was so disproportionate given the risks to her health.
You're screaming into a void and no one is listening. So if that's how we felt as management, how did she feel?
Right, with 3 weeks to go until Love Island returns to our screens with its new winter version in South Africa. The host Caroline Flack announced she's standing down. She was charged with assault, and that's the reason why she is standing down. But what does this mean for the show? Because she's very much the figurehead.
I've never spoken about this night. So it was the night before she was due in court for, was it the
Magistrate's hearing?
The magistrate's hearing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So what, you want to tell you what happened?
Only if you're comfortable to. I don't want to
it's fine.
Leave you down anywhere.
No, it's just we've never really spoken about it. So it was a couple of nights before Christmas, actually. Caroline was staying in a hotel.
She called a couple of people slurring, and I knew then something was going on. So a couple of us went over, and she was just completely out of it on the bed.
I got a phone call from Caroline's friends that she had taken something and they didn't know what to do.
She drank the minibar dry. She took whatever tablets were there in the hotel room that had been prescribed to her. We were just freaking out because the next day was the hearing, but also I was thinking she's gonna die.
So, headed over to the hotel. We called a doctor.
The doctor came and he said, can you put your fingers down her throat and see if she can vomit any medication? So I did, and like a few tablets came out.
By this point, we're 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, and she had to be at her magistrate's hearing the next day, quite early as well. I just remember the cousin, what is she going to wear? Because nothing was clean. But at the back of your mind, you're thinking, should she be going to the magistrate's hearing? Because she's obviously really unwell. I'm a mother. I thought, am I doing the right thing here? Would I let somebody do this to my daughter? I didn't know what was best. But what I did think was the short-term pain of going is going to be better for her in the long term. We got a mishmash of clothes together, some of them maybe her friends' clothes, and we had her ready for the next morning.
It just shouldn't have happened. She shouldn't have gone. You know, that day, you can see her, she probably had an hour's sleep. We didn't sleep. She was see-through.
I arrived with Caroline in the same vehicle at court on that morning in question. We couldn't get out of the vehicle we were travelling in. I couldn't open the door to the car just to get out as a professional to represent somebody in court. What had this become?
The press were horrific. It was so intense. And having that many people scream at you and flash cameras at you, and they don't know this, but 6 hours after you've nearly died. It was scary for me. It would have been horrific for her. She was squeezing my hand so tight and she was really shaking. But the press was so horrific. They were saying disgusting things like, did you nearly kill your boyfriend? Like very provocative things. Caroline kept saying, please don't tell my mum about last night.
I didn't know what had happened the night before, but when I saw her, it just didn't even look like Carrie. She just looked lost.
Her boyfriend arrived separately. He's previously said he wants the case against Caroline Flack to be dropped and doesn't support the prosecution.
We went into the courthouse, she saw her mum, she broke down, and then her biggest fear, she said, what am I going to do when I see Casey Weiss in that court?
Who was she?
Casey Weiss was the prosecutor.
You know, I'm sure the prosecutor will say she was just doing her job. And we don't know what information she was being fed by the police. But with a court packed with press, the nation's eyes were all on Caroline.
She said that Caroline hit her boyfriend with a lamp and caused him a serious or significant injury. But the one thing that got me was when she quoted one of the police officers who described the room as like a scene from a horror movie. But she didn't say that that was Caroline's blood, not Lewis's blood. And that is where I remember thinking, oh my God, this is going to go wrong. And Caroline turned around and looked at us. Her face was completely pale and white as a ghost. She was like, she couldn't believe it. Like, she knew in that moment what had been said and that it couldn't be unsaid.
I've done courts in the past and edited newspapers with court reporting, but the information coming out of that courtroom was way more detailed than we were used to as journalists. This was a magistrate's hearing, not a trial. These things are invariably to plead guilty or not guilty, and then the judge writes down on a piece of paper a day for the next hearing. This is one place you do not mess around if you're a journalist. This is one place where you don't get to be boss. You can only report in what is said.
Prosecutor Katie Weiss told the court he had been asleep and had been hit in the head with a lamp.
Almost immediately, what was said in court hit the news.
They were both covered in blood.
The prosecution said he'd received a significant injury to his head.
It was like a horror movie.
Social media pickup. It spreads like wildfire.
She picked up a lamp and smashed him over the head while he was asleep. And there was blood.
The place was a bloodbath.
And Caroline is suddenly the baddie in a horror movie.
She is not allowed to contact her boyfriend, and when she was told that in the court, she burst into tears.
It was all an act. You can see she's trying to look small and weak. Just a clever move to get sympathy.
finally they had something they could actually pick on her about. This was a true crime in the moment, and people feed off that like vampires.
I think she felt very, very lost and out of control, and I just could see that it was going to end badly.
The more I've looked at this, Christine, the less I can understand.
Caroline thought she had no control. Lies were being told about her all the time.
At this point, Caroline was worth more to them in print to be the villain.
There was no direct evidence that anyone had been hit with a lamp.
It's really just about who's got the best front page the next day.
I think this headline's disgusting. I'd like a front page apology.
We were more scared of her going to hospital because of what the press would do than getting her life saved.